Good morning, good evening, and good night. My name is Jack. I am here with Husky. We are going to bring you 2.4 hours of Bathurst, brought to you by our patrons Jacob, Deep Cuts, Robin Merling, Alvin Yakitori, Suicidal Cookie, M1LDT, Alexander Georgiev. I'm Jay Gott, and Pierre Moreno. We are bringing it to you live with the help of the SDK overlays. Go check them out as well. There'll be a referral link somewhere to give us a little kickback when you are good. Good evening, Husky. How are you today?
Hello, I'm doing very fine. We've got 2.4 hours of Bathurst. Should be pretty full of action if Bathurst does what it says it normally does.
Yeah, something extra special as well. Let's bring you over to some on-track action in the last little few minutes of our practice. We've got 2.4 hours of multi-class Bathurst. We have both GT3s and a couple of supercars are going to be joining us as well. So a bit of an interesting mix. Not everyone's in at the moment, but still got about 10 minutes left of this practice session. It's going to be nice and sunny, good weather, low humidity, a crisp spring morning in Australia.
Well, Australia's never had rain, so, it's clearly going to be warm, and that'll be good for the tyres, for the drivers, so we'll see. Hopefully the supercars will be okay, but we know they're also built tough, so might see a little bit in the first little while of them getting a bit elbows out as well.
Yeah, they're going to be maybe a little bit slower in the mountain section than we would expect from a GT3, but those straight firing V8s that we absolutely love from Australia will give it some throughout the straight line speed element. Welcome to the chat, everyone. Welcome to the stream. See who we've got with us. Any of our normals? No one. Hello, Racing Fox. How are you doing this evening? We had some fans for Mr. M1LDT last time as well. Hopefully he has a good running. LMP2 went well last time out. Just as a reminder, this is an open event. There's no paid entry, so if you are interested in joining us, the next race is next month, and I will go over the details of that at the end of the race. So, we say 2.4 hours, Husky, but actually, iRacing only lets us do the increments in every 5 minutes. So 2.4 would be 144 minutes. So we actually add a little extra minute. So we make up for Daytona of 2024 by adding a minute onto the race instead of taking one out. So.
Well, you'd be adding one or taking away like four, wouldn't it, if you can do it in 5 minutes? So
Yeah.
you get an extra minute of track time, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you cross the line at the let's say, quote unquote, wrong point, you've just added a little bit extra on top as well for extra driving time.
Yeah, it's adds an extra strategy to those last pit stops of the race. We saw a good amount of pit stop strategy coming into it at Daytona, which was just an absolutely amazing celebration of just one of the best racetracks, and Bathurst up there with it. Probably one of my top 5 for spectating and watching races. It's one of the few tracks that we don't get open wheels at as often as I'd wish, but there is a reason for it. The reason is the track. Just look at it. It's twisty, turny.
You fire off up the hill and the front wing just shits off.
Yeah, I don't know I can't remember who it was, but who had both their front wheels just disappear in China a few years back in F1. Imagine that happens coming into the chase.
Oh Lord,
You'll probably end up in Canberra if that happened, to be honest.
I remember that incident, and I remember it in the real world because I met the driver in the real world who that happened to.
Yeah, like we said, we're just seeing a little bit of on track where coming into Bentley, the Porsche was actually able to get the supercar, but now the supercar with the slipstream just showing that horses do mean something in motor racing. Slightly less of... So essentially, they are GT3 power cars with GT4 aerodynamics. for the instances of what to expect in comparison to a GT3. It's not quite right. If any Australians want to come and get me, I am not scared of you because you're miles away. If you're in the UK and an Australian, I am very scared of you. Please don't hurt me.
Well, an Australian friend of mine who follows V8 supercars around, the best way he ever described it of it's a punty touring car endurance series, which, yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's pretty accurate.
Yeah, touring cars are some of the most fun racing series as well. Just absolute enjoyment that you can get from it. I'm doing good, Racing Fox. I am having a good week, great day. If it wasn't doing this right now, I would currently have been crashed out of the Daytona 500 for about an hour. So we are looking good.
I think I know what I would prefer.
Yes. So we got a few, not a massive grid has turned up so far, but we're still expecting a few more. Got a couple of supercar drivers and a good dozen or so GT3s. Also, aforementioned, it is also Daytona 500 weekend, which does mean that other types of races sometimes get a little bit less, especially if you have to pick between the two.
Yeah, it's always a hard decision, though, isn't it? Of like, one hand there's this, on the other hand there's this, and it's fully understandable for like any driver. You've got to weigh up and make your decision into it.
Yeah. Also, a interesting spread of the cars that have entered. A couple of supercars. We've got the team of Michael Benke and Josh Davies versus Joshua Andrews, our friend James. But there is also one Lamborghini GT3, one Mustang GT3, and the rest of it is essentially Porsche Cup versus Ferrari Challenge. We have six Porsche GT3s and 4 Ferraris. That is... People definitely have their favourites. It's not what I would expect at Bathurst, where you'd think maybe Mustang might have a bit of an advantage, but Kovacs going with a Lamborghini, giving some representation.
Yeah, I mean, it will be very interesting as well to see, how the Lamborghini and the Ford match up with each other. I mean, we've already touched on the supercars, but, the spread of manufacturers in GT3 as well, that will definitely be very interesting to watch for too.
Yeah, let's have a look at the current timing lists for the practice. So, 2:05 coming in there for Martin Kovac as our practice comes to an end. We'll see where people lay up. Our qualifying format for today is going to be private sessions as is standard in iRacing, which will get you into whoever is on track first. We'll join with shortly. You get 2 complete laps and 10 minutes to do them in. So you can do a couple of double lap if you want, or you can go for a singular. Looks like Van der Berg is in there, but so is Milad coming out as well. So we'll have a look at who's doing what and how it is going.
This is where the crunch is, because especially at Bathurst, while qualifying is important as at any track, at Bathurst it's one of those things where it's a good qualifying and then making sure you get through that first lap cleanly and without issue, because just have a look at the sides. There is no margin anywhere for any first or second lap scuffles or visits to our good friend Barrier, are there really?
No, you've got no real margin for error at Bathurst. It's one of those things that you get a foot out of whack at somewhere like Silverstone or even Zandvoort, and you're in a gravel trap, or you've lost some time by hitting a curb a little bit too hard. At some points, especially at this downhill section, foot out, you're off. You're in the wall. You are back at pits.
A good way I've ever heard it explained is at a lot of tracks, if you put a foot out, there's about 100 foot there for you to recover in. At Bathurst, you put a foot out and you're actually through the barrier.
Yeah, there's a couple of areas. So, like, this after Bentley, on the exit of Bentley, you've got a little bit of runoff space. But even the penultimate and last corners, they look like they'd be nice, open, flowy corners. But if you go off, the wall is surprisingly close. This bit here.
Yeah, and it approaches you very, very quickly as well, especially at Bathurst, because of, it looks far while you're outside. It's like, oh, there's a good bit of room there. But when you're in the car and your perspective is a little bit different, it's like, oh, it's coming.
Yeah, well, starting the first flying lap for Milad. He's coming around now out of turn 2. What we'll do is we will go on board in the gyro cam, just to give you a little first-person view of a hopefully rapid lap around Mount Panorama. Going into turn 2, tight right. You have to use all the space on the left, but not much is given to you. Then you need to come straight across back to the right, get right up against the wall, keep as much speed on this uphill, very tight braking zone. You're braking all the way while turning, heavily not to engage ABS too much. Going right along the Fujitsu wall, hit the apex on the right and on the left. You've got to make sure to keep wheels off the grass through this section. Use that little bit of tarmac space, a little bit of a wiggle onto the running into the left before Skyline. That's pretty much blind as you crest over. Left, right, tight left hand down, very close to the wall into this drop here. You can spin out a little bit if you hit it wrong and throttle at the wrong time. Nice flowing section close to the walls into Bentley corner. And for the most part, the difficult bit of Panorama has been tamed. But you need to maximize the speed. The chase, you can lose a lot. Brake a few feet too early, and the momentum in that last section is gone. So we'll see what time he is running on once it comes through. We're at the third to last. Onto this left-hander. Deceptively tricky. Hit the curb on the inside and you will lose a lot of time. Throttle on the grass. And through with a 2:05.41 or 2:06.41. 4:09 to be exact. Not the speed that you would want to be getting. So,
No, but it's a decent start. Your first lap, it's a bit of a find your feet. Your second one, you really are then putting the hammer down really into it.
And Kovac comes in for 2:05.9. Gonna take that pole position. The lad's lap doesn't look like it's actually counted. It will come through shortly. He now doesn't have a best lap on our live timing, so he might have cut right at the end and had a slowdown, which would invalidate his lap. Hopefully he can push that through and it'll be good. But as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, we are looking at some very rapid times from the top 3 so far.
And I mean, just going off of those first laps as well, the gap in the supercars for the first lap, literally just a tiny bit shy of 7/10 as well, which that's going to make for an interesting battle between the two supercars, I feel.
Yeah, it's a very interesting look. You can see at the bottom that some of the drivers are putting in some good purple sectors as well. Alright, let's have a look at who we've got. Rodrigo, no time set so far. Kovac is on his second lap. Marlowe gets close, but not close enough to Martin. Is he going to get an improvement on his time? Let's have a look as he comes across. It was a 2:05.9 on his last flying lap. 2:05.5, improves by 4/10. He is going to be the man to beat today. Absolutely roaring in that Lamborghini.
It is like what we've come to expect from Kovacs, isn't it? You put him in a car on a track and he is immediately up there.
Yeah, it's not even a question of if, but when will he set a rapid lap in any car he ends up in. We're going to hope that means most of our drivers are going to be done now as the final lap times come in.
It looks like we've got about 4 or 5 still setting laps, which
not coming.
We'll see. But
there we go. Something was
that gap in the supercars still looking very, very tasty, and also the gap in the midfield of GT3 as well. You know, 0.7, 0.3, 0.1, 0.2. It's very, very tight in that midfield of GT3 between second and really 7th place. You know, all within a second of each other, and between first and third, all within more or less a second as well.
Yeah, and even Matt Warner, who's on his second flying lap, only 1.1 seconds on his fast lap, slower than Kovac, which is going to give us an interesting grid.
Yeah, because one lap can only really tell, like, you know, your fastest lap can only tell you so much. It's about stringing the laps together consistently, time and time again, without issue when it comes to green flag race running,
Yes.
which is what sorts it all out.
During qualifying, proves my wonderful point that the power of the supercars is much higher than people give them credit for. Over 20 kilometers an hour faster on the back straight than Kovac was able to do on his fastest lap. That is the supercars' advantage. That is going to be what makes them an interesting little wrinkle to throw in. We were expecting a few more. Some drivers had to pull out just due to some health concerns. And the last car on track is Rodrigo Oliveira,
who's running, for anyone, from the looks of it, for anyone that's followed IMSA a while ago. I think they don't run it anymore, but is that Roxy, their other one?
Yeah, that's the iRacing's second car, which they don't race in GTs anymore. Their second car, I believe, is an LMP car now. So, and he's off the track.
What? He's managed to hold it at least, which again,
is going to invalidate the lap. Is going to end the session there. But yeah, if he can keep, if you can correct like that during the race, that's going to be a difference between not and it.
Yeah, we've seen it time and time again, both in sim and in the real world. Hitting that wrong and everything really cascading from there.
Okay, let's have a look at our grid for this race. In pole position, Martin Kovac in the Lamborghini, followed by Matt Warner, Matthew Marlowe, Gish Van Hoogt, Remco Van Berg, Aldwin BOS, Brad Hoover, Alex Roach, and behind them, Joshua Powell, Rodrigo Oliveira, Remco Van Wheeler, Milad Vegas, and Michael Benke and Joshua Andrews for the Supercars.
I also find it quite funny that Michael Benke, that team name, good times, not lap times, pole position in the Supercars.
So, as they make their way to the grid, Pit lane absolutely ready for this race. See the view from the front for Kovac. They start just before the chase, so it's going to be a quick few corners on rolling with the safety car going in and releasing these fine gentlemen for 2.4-ish hours of Mount Panorama.
Big thing about Mount Panorama, everyone just get through turn 1, get through the mountain, shuffle yourself then down the Conrod, and then go from there. It's always a risky idea to try and go for the moves into the mountain on the first lap. It's doable, but really in this length of race, do you want to risk it?
Not the thing you want to look at. Let's have a look. See what's going on. Martin Kovac coming in through the back end of the grid. Coming around, and we are going to be green at Bathurst for the Endure iRacing 2.4 hours. Let's have a look at some of the action towards the back of the pack, because these supercars are going to be very interesting to see at the start. There's a spin, and contact is made again. Let's have a look at what happened there very quickly for you. So Rodrigo Bandiera de Oliveira coming around in that AO Sports inspired car, spins it and gets tagged by Michael Benke.
Looks like it just let go on him, didn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit of, it's almost like a snap oversteer, rear end lifts up, but you're kind of a passenger at that point. Just unfortunately he got tagged in the rear left. Shouldn't be too much damage on that. Should be able to get going again. And Milad Vegas has fallen back as well. Didn't make a valid qualifying time, it looked like, and has made 4 places up. Look at the gain. Yeah, it's all gains at the back. Powell. Oh, and the car is off. Looks like that's Van den Berg going around and round.
I think, though, from the look of it, he has actually held it as well, which we said earlier. If you can recover it like that from there, then good on you. Yeah, it just washes out a bit, doesn't it?
Out, but is able to get on the tarmac with enough time to break for Skyline. Like we said, that is very, very important to keep that going. Oh, and there's been another crash with Bandiera Oliveira. Let's have a look. Coming through the mountain section. Oh, and he just tags the wall on the inside. A big spin round.
And he's just planted the rear end of that car into the tyre barrier as well. It looked like something came off the front.
Yeah, there was definitely some debris.
I think with that hit to the back as well, there might actually now be some damage that will need addressing.
Yeah,
but we'll have to keep an eye on if he pulls into the pits to possibly get a repair done.
Hopefully nothing too serious. Supercars are keeping well within each other, though. Only a second between them. If they can keep within that, we're up for some very interesting things. Now, big difference between the 2 supercars is the number 7 is a 2-car outfit, the VB Longneck Racing Pals car, whereas the 74 behind it, the Dickens Cider 74, is a solo driver entry. So there's that driver swap aspect, so we're going to see a couple of different driving styles showcased in these fights, as it looks like a supercar just makes it past a GT3. Let's have a look again at that overtake. Very interesting. Oh, big spin. We're looking, that's Milad. And that's how,
the supercar just came up to him.
Just came up to him at the wrong time, so
If anything, I would actually say for that situation, the right time, because he'd already started going again, wasn't on the racing line, so in reality,
Oh,
nothing has really gone amiss there.
can see that there was a potential. There was some overtakes because of an off track. Let's have a look. Yeah, he looks like he hits the wall on the inside. A few people get past him on that. He's
Mm.
got damage as well.
Yeah, I also just want to point you out as well. What I envisioned seems like it's come true. Rodrigo Bandera de Oliveira has, from the looks of what I can see, boxed in. So
Yeah,
might be a fact of having a look at what's happening, and already a couple Ferraris boxed in as well. Very interesting.
yeah. So it looks like Joshua Powell and let's have a look. Remco van der Berg have gone into the pits. Both of those are two of the cars that we just saw go into the wall in the mountain section. So that is going to be two Ferraris coming in for repairs. As you can see them coming in now. We'll snap back to Mr. Michael Bengi in the supercars, and Joshua Andrews is right on his tail.
Yeah, I mean, they're really keeping within, a second to 1.1 of each other. And as you said, the difference being a two-driver outfit versus a solo. That will be interesting to see, how the two match up. Because if you're on your own, you've got all that time to get into the groove and everything. Whereas if you're in a team, you've got that time to get into the groove where you're driving. And then your next driver has to quickly get into that groove as well, to be able to run as close to the times and the pace that your original driver was.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting one. Speaking of interesting, looks like there's some close racing going on up towards the front of the pack as well. So we've got Milad Vegas only half a second behind Alex Roach, as well as Hughes being only half a second behind Marlowe. Vegas getting dangerously close for an overtake. I think we might see some on-track action if we stay with these Porsches right now. Alex Roach coming in for a defensive move, and it might be the next couple of corners where a move gets made.
He's already putting his nose in to have a quick sniff.
Has the
Yeah,
cut
he's
back.
trying inside, and it looks like he's clear as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Puts his nose in on the chase, then the number 10 for Alex Roach. He moves along across to kind of cover that right-hand side. Lad just pokes into the apex on the left and gets that move done.
That is, if anything, the classic move for those two corners, isn't it?
Yeah.
You set it up into the chase, and then you use the extra bit you've got to get the inside, get the better traction, and pull ahead.
Yeah, the same machinery. That is all going to be the driver picking their moment, and Milad got that made. Joshua Powell as well as Van der Berg, they are both out of the pits now, getting some movement going, but they'll be racing each other now as they were on the same lap when they entered. So that's going to give us some action all the way through this race, those two catching up.
Now, here's the question I have is, we are only, 7.5-ish minutes into the race. Kovacs has already pulled a bit of a gap as well. But again, we've already seen it, how quickly a gap can go with 1 foot wrong. So really, even though the gaps at the moment are a bit wide apart, it's not going to stay that way, I don't think, throughout the whole race. And the supercars still very close together, and that's third and fourth. Marlowe and Hoogt. My pronunciation is great, I know. That looks like it's going to be very, very tasty in the next maybe lap or two.
Yeah,
It's just going to depend because they're so close together, and it looks like through some sections it contracts, in others it widens. It's going to be, I think, down to making the most out of where your car is the strongest.
yeah, we've got it's a battle for two different cars now as well. So we've got a Porsche and a Ferrari. Again, just having to make sure that some things that are wanting to work are working. We've been having some issues on the technical side of getting liveries updated properly. Which should automatically refresh, so you might see some visual errors on our side, guys. But some of the liveries are working, some of them are not. Apologies for that. But yeah, who's keeping with him within a second in the mountain section? If you can make time up in the uphill, it will benefit you once you hit Skyline, because you can really kind of force a mistake. It's one of the best ways to make an overtake on this track, is to force a mistake after Skyline. He's made a 10th up in the uphill section. We just saw a little bit of dust kicking up from the car in front.
Yeah, a little bit of dust just shows, doesn't it though, just how close you are actually running to the limit around here. Because you need to be, especially if you're trying to extend the gap out from the car that's chasing you down. You need to be getting as close to it as possible.
Looks like that's something that Marlowe is able to do, but it seems like the Ferrari's just got that little bit extra bite in the straight. Speaking of extra bite, Milad coming out of Bentley, only 3/10 behind Hoove. Is he going to try and make a similar move stick on the number 2 car?
Or, and I can go back to a classic line that you might remember, is Hoove going to be in the groove and on the move? We'll find out.
See. Yeah, makes a little dummy, goes to the left, Hoove on the right, going to not give him the space to make a dive up the inside. Going to keep him behind for another lap, but we'll stick with this fight for a little bit. Looks like it's going to be good. On the telemetry, they did just do a little how's your father. Milad being ahead of Hoove for a short period during the chase. And he's going to be on the inside.
Look, he is looking.
He's going to go for it, but not always the best thing to make a move like that against a Mustang in the straights. He's going to have to pull away from him real hard in the mountains section. That Mustang is angry when you take over any of its road.
Let's see. Is Mill going to be able to extend it? Because that gap is through a couple corners, tightening back up, but then it is extending again.
Yeah, we're in the flat section as well. This is where the Porsche kind of loves it. The Mustang not able to go out as wide, just because it is a bit of a bigger beast. But if it can get so much speed up to Skyline, we can see the interval ticking down, but in the braking zone, he just extends it again. Adds 4/10 over Skyline, just because this Mustang kind of struggles through this section of the track.
Yeah, it is though, isn't it? It's what the Porsche is more or less built for, is tight and twisty. Getting the power down as early as possible and just accelerating away.
Yeah, and getting a really good exit and at top speed, being not too far off thanks to the GT3 homologization rules. Mustang doesn't have the 10, 20 mile an hour advantage that we would expect from a car of its pedigree. It is reined in a little bit, so that is going to be an overtake done and dusted for Milad.
That's the thing around a track such as Bathurst. It's not just getting past, it's being able to hold on to it. On some circuits, you get past, it's like, right, that's my overtake done. On Bathurst, it's one of those circuits where it's, I've got past, now I need to solidify it.
Let's have a look at some of these top speeds as well. Yeah. Hoove, he is actually having a higher top speed so far in the race than Hoove. But Marlowe and Hoove, they are the two cars breaking that 70. And again, the Supercars just much faster in a straight line, so they have to be got through the mountain section, which in about another half an hour time, that's when the lapped cars are going to come into play.
I think something might have just happened, Jack, with the car in 13th. It looked like on the track map that he just stopped when
like
Kovacs came up to him.
There's an off track from them. Oh, massive hit into the wall. Front completely gone. Kovacs gets past them, luckily, and don't cause much issue, but oh, that is a slobber knocker. We'll go back live with my lad, but we'll have a look where Oliviera is. Still with that front bumper gone.
I think he had actually fitted a new one. I saw in a replay something else pop off there.
Yeah, I think that's the third front clip that they've gone through for the number 12 car. See what else is going on in this. Let's have a look at the gains that have been made so far. As you can see, Vega's not able to set a qualifying lap, but already got himself back up into P4. With Wheeler also getting some positions back.
I think we will end up seeing Vega's, clawing up even further over probably the next hour, because we know he's quick, and I'm sure for him not setting a qualifying lap, not the most ideal, but he's shown already that he intends to race here and he intends to get himself back up the standings.
For sure. Let's just have a look at our top few drivers. Have a look at their most recent lap times. So we are looking at small gains for Hug. In that gap, Marlowe building it up. And then Kovac and Warner. Warner was getting some time back, but in the last couple of laps, it's been a few attempts gained for the lead of the number 1 car, Martin Kovac. And we will keep on with our lead car as the field seems to be separating a little bit.
I'm just trying to have a think here of when we might see pit stops happen, because I'm not 100% sure with tires and fuel burn rate with this setup. It's definitely going to be I think, mate, I can't 100% put my finger on it, but that's going to be now what you're wanting to give yourself a cushion for. Obviously, the downside, quote unquote, that Kovacs will have is he has no one to react off of. He's going to be, I think, probably in the car thinking when to do what. But with Warner behind him, Warner can then fully react, everything permitting, off of what Kovacs is doing ahead.
Yeah, it gets that lovely bit of information as well. See, the lap times will... A lot of the times in a lot of series, the lap times will increase as the tyres break down, but with the fuel that's coming off and Bathurst being so kind on your tyres, does normally come down to the fuel load, so there's a little bit of a give and take there, so the lap times aren't going to give you a lot, but they will be saving fuel. Kovacs is the kind of driver that's not going to, push all the time when he thinks that he can, keep maintaining the lead and give himself an extra lap of fuel by the end of the race. So it's going to be an interesting couple of hours ahead of us.
Will be. I mean, Warner as well has kept the gap pretty consistent over this first section as well. Most of the time, I think, has been within sight distance of that Lamborghini too, which, as a driver at least, every time I've driven in a race, just being able to see that car ahead just gives me a little bit more urge to go, right, let's catch him.
Yeah. No, fully agree with you on that one, Husky. He's got a couple of seconds. The gap has been consistent, but Kovac is eking out tenths. Last lap, Warner was a couple of tenths faster, but he's still got that little bit less top speed. But we're going to keep with it. Let's have a look, though. The interesting thing is, if you look at the lap times, we've now got Van der Berg in the 11 is behind the supercars by a good chunk of time, but is quite a few seconds a lap faster. If he can keep some clean laps going, we'll have to see him get past them for track position on merit. They will not be lap cars, and they will be allowed to fight. It's up to them if they want to. Probably best to leave it be if you can without losing much time, but like we said, where do you do that? Do you do it up in Skyline when the GT3s are going to have their best advantage? It's dangerous to try and do that. So Matt Warner just setting a personal best lap last lap, 2:06.7, only 0.04 slower than Kovac's best lap in the race as well. So see if that lights a fire under the Hungarian to put in some better times. Oh, and there is a massive off for Van der Wheeler. Let's have a look at this replay from the onboard on the left-hand side. On Skyline, pushes out. Looks like a lock-up on the front right, a little lifts up the back left. And he has been towed back to the pits. That might be him out of the race.
It would be disappointing, but that was, from the look of it, quite a decent meeting there. And that's the thing about Skyline is, for one of, I would say, the most, what's the word? One of the easiest sections of track to have a little bit of a problem. You've got not much if the car then decides to go off to the right as opposed to the left.
Yeah, it's also one of the things because of the nature of the camber of the corner. If you do stay a little bit too far to the right, your car doesn't really have the grip. It will teeter a little bit, and things like that can happen. If the rear left catches and the front left's off, you are spinning, and there's not much you can do if you are in the throttle there.
No, it's one of those situations where once it's started, you have essentially just become a passenger, and you've just got to hope that the best outcome in that situation will happen for you, really.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. But yeah, Van der Wheeler still in the pits. We will give you an update if they do leave, see if they are still in the race after repairing. But it does look like that crash may have been terminal.
Possibility, we will see, but as well, Milad there, 2.6 of a gap, 2.7 thereabouts. I think that he will be able to claw that back. I mean, I've seen him do it before quite a few times. It's just going to be a case of when, and I mean, just look how close he is actually getting to the limit. You can see that he is just wanting to push and wanting to get as close as possible. I mean, through Skyline, comes down a good chunk there. That is, I can't even say it's down to the Porsche because he's chasing another Porsche ahead as well. So they should have relatively the same strengths in the same places. Yeah, 1.5 now. Just well, yeah, 1.5 really, more or less. So he is actually definitely wheeling in the number 3 car ahead. And, you know, seeing as last lap when we were talking about it, you know, that gap's come down by a second as well. So he's definitely getting that push. That I think he's definitely now sitting there and going, I want to get to the back of him. I want to be able to have this fight. Yeah, I think give it a lap or two, he will be pretty much right on him. Which, have a look, as we go over Skyline, this is where he really did bring that gap down before. And it doesn't look as brutal of a reduction as it was last time. So I think maybe Boz ahead might be sitting there and going, oh, I've got to get a bit of a wiggle on here. But now down the Conrod, it's about how it was as we were last lap. We've seen before though that Milad really does seem to enjoy the overtake through the chase, setting it up there, and then getting it through the next corner. Again, gets all the way to the outside, little bit of curb. Much of the curbs that you can get away with. Hug it close to the right. Little run out on the left. Getting the power down, not going onto the curb, which might be a good idea, really, because obviously as you lift the rear tyres, especially on the more aggressive curbs, it can kick the traction control in. And yeah, just under 5 tenths faster that lap. So he is cutting it down. Will now be within a second for most of this lap. So I think, yeah, again, 1 or 2 laps, and we'll probably end up seeing this fight unfold, and then it will be on the number 3 car of Boz to defend. And really, from what we've seen before, Milad loves a move into the chase, and that is going to be a thing, possibly, if the gap comes down how it is now, where he is going to set his move up for this overtake to move him into, which would move him into P5. And keep in mind, he started in, quick bit of math, and think he started in 14th, so he started at the back, if my math is right, which, so, you know, that would have put him up 9 positions. He's already up 8. Again, we'll see 8 tenths, just stretching out to 9 tenths as they head down the hill. We'll see as they come through Bentley. The sector times, very, very close through sector 2. And through sector 1, it was about 3 tenths of a gap. So 7 now as they head down the Conrod Straight. He's going to be a bit too far behind to make anything happen now. But next lap will most likely, most probably, at the rate things are going, be a different story. As through the fast left-right, now the run down to the final corner. This is going to be the lap where Milad will have to set everything up to possibly have a chance at his so far signature move into the cutting. Again, through turn 1. So last lap at 208.3 versus a 207.6. So that tells you just how much of a push Milad is going for here.
And it is looking like a very close race of both that and Warner has got a similar gap up with Kovac for the lead. So we've got 2 close battles that we'll try and keep you up to date with both of them as we go.
As I was just saying, Jack, when we came back, is just where do we think that Milad is going to try to move? I'm still leaning towards what he's tried and successfully completed thus far into the cutting. just going to be, how will he be able to just set it up? Because really, he's had the pace through the final few corners and the Conrod straight, and then just before the mountain, and then it seems that Boz has been able to pull away just a little bit through the mountain itself.
Yeah, he's going to have a pretty good run through the mountain section. So looks like he is gaining on him now. But Warner in a dangerous position with Kovac as well. Let's bring you into that as he comes around the last corner. He's only a few tenths back. We'll try and give you coverage of both of these races as they're happening. And we will give you the replay if we can't catch it live.
Again, about 3 tenths faster that lap, more or less. So Warner is definitely putting the hammer down to catch the Hungarian driver known as Kovac. It is definitely, I think, going to be a tasty battle up the front, because that Porsche is definitely very strong through the entirety of the mountain itself.
Yeah, and we've got Boz and Vegas once again. They're also on the front straight between 1 and 2, looking absolutely fantastic. Porsche on Porsche violence, what we like to see.
Could say it's a Porsche civil war.
Yeah, and they got to work together as Kovac pulls half a second on Warner in the back half of the mountain section. And they are just pulling away, not able to follow closely with the current aero packages. And we're going to have to wait until we see some absolute just masterclass of racing that we've seen. Vegas Skyline gets a massive jump. Last of the late braking there, gaining 3 tenths, but then just losing it through the final section. Bentley, he's tight to the left. Gets a really good exit. Keep an eye on that timing. See, is it going up or down? It's staying the same. Oh, it's making its way downtown. He's going fast. Is he going to do his maneuver? Is he going to look to the inside of the chase? Oh, he's moving across. Not quite close enough, but he's a couple of steps back. Could go for a dive. Instead, he's going to give the Patience play a go.
I mean, it did look a bit like he was considering it, though.
Possibly
just to test the waters of, is this something that might work here? And in the end, I think he might have just decided, I'll leave it for another lap.
Yeah, fellow Benelux driver in front of him. We've got a great little fight for their region.
And it's now within 2 tenths. He's having a look sides against it. He just saw that car dart out, so he's definitely thinking about where he's going to be able to do this now. Boz is going defensive.
I'm going to see it in the bottom right of your screen as well. Just the gap has been falling lap by lap the last 5 laps for Milad.
Yeah, I mean, just look as well. Versus the bottom and the second from bottom. Look at the jump that had before it's, sort of come together in a little bit of a smaller.
Yeah, we can see the
change.
Yeah, just the lap times being that much higher for Boz compared to Milad is something you wouldn't really expect. Let's have a look at their current deltas as well for the sectors to go through. But Boss able to actually get some time back in those, end of and beginning of mountain sections. Could just be that Milad is giving him the space, because you don't want to go into the back of someone during that period. But
Not
something.
particularly. It's not ideal, as some people might say.
Yeah, definitely not what you're doing. And again, yeah, but it is a bit of a back and forth, but overall they are kind of punch for punch. Viga's gaining a couple of attempts here, but then losing a couple of attempts there. It's a very interesting little thing as we are approaching just about the quarter period. Looks like there was a slight off track for one of the supercars, but we will look at that after we get a bit more action out of this race between two, might I say, absolutely gorgeous liveries. The M1 LDT never failing with their livery creation, and Alwyn Boss, something absolutely gorgeous. We just got word of a crash for Rodrigo Bandera. We'll have a quick look at that as they are slowly going through. He's on the final corner. Is he going to do one of my specials? Yep, gets it wrong, spins around. Goes off track. We'll get back right to as we approach Skyline.
Now, this is through Skyline one of the closest times that Milad has been as well. So I think if he can keep it this tight, it might be the chance for him to try his move into the cutting. I mean, a bit wider out of Bentley, but possibly might help him out a little bit, being able just to get that traction down and get on the power a little bit earlier.
Yeah, it's closing earlier than it was on the last time we had this, as Kovac puts in a session best time with Warner 4 thousandths slower. That fight is going to go until the end as he comes on the inside. Not quite close enough. Boss keeps him out of the position for that inside line. That was very, very good defensive positioning by Alwyn Boss. Well, we've got the time. Let's have a look at the off-track we had from the 74 car. And he thinks we are in a drift event. Keeps it out of the wall. That could have been a lot worse for Joshua Andrews.
I mean, it wouldn't have scored very high in Formula Drift as he did go off the circuit, but you know, pretty decent drift, especially seeing as, you know, he's in a V8 supercar.
Yeah, that's the kind of drift that would make Jeremy Clarkson proud. But yeah, we are just going to keep an eye on some of the other races. It looks like Warner has overtaken Kovac, but because Martin Kovac has gone off into Skyline, hits a little bit of the curb, loses the rear end, and he's round into the wall. That is a massive hit that's dropped him down to 3rd position. Massive damage. Rear clip.
And that is something very, very rare to see from Kovac. And yeah, look, that rear end is not playing ball with him now. That is going to be
and he's gone off again. We caught it live. Let's see what happened there.
Oh, look, you can see the rear left tyre. That looks like it's actually buckled on him. Look as it comes through the camera.
Yeah, the tyre is gone. That is a massive impact for the #1 target car. That's going to be a massive repair. If they can even get that back. And he's gone again. Look at it. The spin. It is going.
I expect there is likely going to be some very not happy Hungarian words being slightly loudly said in the cockpit of that Lamborghini, really, as he brings it into the pit lane.
As we have the leader get passed by Boss and Wiegers, we can go back with that incredible battle. Let's have a look how it's going. We are... This is the closest coming into turn 2 that Vegas has been on boss.
I think it is thus far. And it's just as well, like, as I've said before, Boss seems to have the extra speed in the mountain to just hold Milad off. And you can see, you know, he is definitely trying to look and trying to go, where can I find that bit of air that I need to just slot myself side by side with him just to get past? And every time he's looked, Boz, who's just, I think, clipped the barrier a little bit there on the exit, he just seems to have an answer for everything that Milad's been trying.
Gone off as
Milad
well!
round.
The back end goes out and into the wall! Just as we see Kovac leaving the pit lane, getting a new clip attached, Milad drops the rear right off the track. You can see the skid marks on your screen in front of you. He's round and in the wall. Let's have a look at that from another angle. Comes around towards Skyline, drops a little bit onto the left-hand side. And he is off, pirouetting like a ballerina.
He's just clipped that inside curve a bit too hard from the look of it. It's where it all started.
Yeah, let's have a look from our left front camera. It doesn't even clip the curb.
No,
it just lifts a little.
Just got a bit of snap. You could see in the wheel. He's tried to correct it, and it's just gripped again, and that's what sent him.
He's overcorrected it, but not in a way that's like, oh, look at the damage on the front of that Porsche. Luckily, it looks like it was a flat impact to the front, so hopefully nothing dealt damaged in the suspension. So not damaged in the suspension that he's not going to go in to change it. I guess he's so close to pitting anyway for fuel in the 45 to 55 minute mark. As Gottlieb points out, Kovac coming into the pits like a crab earlier. Out of the pits ahead of the supercars, so you won't have to worry about that. But he is a lap down on
and that as well. If he's taken what he would have done in his pit stop anyway, he's now gonna have to change his entire pit strategy to an extent, and also now push as hard as he can to regain what he has lost there.
Yeah, gonna be a massive ask for Martin Kovac. But as we saw with Milad, you can make it through places in this race. It's just going to have to work a little harder. Let's have a look at the quick track map. See where our drivers are chilling. So we're looking for the number 74. Where is our Supercars?
P10, he's just coming through the sec. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's getting lapped now. So this is now the point in this event that the
I mean, look at the power difference there is there as well.
It's all that ability. And now as they get to the point where they're closing that top speed, the Supercar's catching. But getting the power out of the corners, the Porsche is just so much stronger. The GT3 is able to get that grip in, not able to worry too much about spin-up time for the speed. But that's to give you a good idea of the spread in gaps. So on the right-hand side, you can see we've got some cars in the pits getting some repairs done. The number 1 of Kovac now coming on to up to the chase, but he is all alone, so he's going to have to just put in some qualifying speed times. Catch up from that. Let's have a look where
here comes
battles
another
are.
Porsche. Probably not one of the most... he's gone! That is Marlowe. That is
Matthew Marlowe, come from second place, has spun out in the mountain section. And he has had to return to pits. The damage too much to keep going. So that gives Matt Warner a 20-second lead. He almost has built up through crashes and speed a pit stop advantage.
And that's the thing about endurance racing. It's why they call it endurance racing, because, you know, Warner hasn't really been about much on our screens. He's just sort of been there floating about. But you can see, even if, you know, I mean, I've seen it before in some races that I've commentated where the person that's ended up winning or doing the best, like, in their comparative race has just been the one that's been there, not got into any strife whatsoever. And for Warner, it's worked beautifully, really, for him.
Yeah, he's now put in the best lap of the race, a 206.38, 200th faster than Kovac's best time before the crash. But Kovac's time's not really been affected by the damage to the car, as we see Andrews and Michael Benke starting to get their gap apart, which does mean they're going to start affecting the GT3s at different points. It's going to be quite interesting as we speak of affecting it. Benke getting caught up by Warner. Gives him the inside line. We're going to expect that to be the place for the GT3s to want to get past the Supercars, because it kind of gives them the best chance of getting through and getting a gap to not have them anywhere nearby for the next braking zone.
Yeah, I mean, really, there aren't that many great places in this whole portion of circuit to let people past. I'd say probably one of the best is that. I think one of the ones that, if it was me, that I wouldn't want to try into a Skyline, just from how blind it is and how crucial it is to be on the line as you're going through there, really, which I'm sure you can agree with, Jack. And with the speed difference as well, Conrad, if you're a GT3 on a GT3, it's not that bad, but if you're a GT3 on a V8, might be a little bit more sketchy.
Yeah, you're gonna. The nice thing about the Supercars, at least, is they're a little bit narrower than the GT3 cousins. So some of those really tight spots, you can actually get past them with I'm not gonna say with ease, but a GT3 Mustang versus a Supercars Mustang. You'd rather be trying to get past a slow supercar than a GT. Speaking of slow GTs, for no fault of his own, Matthew Marlowe now left the pits. Is on a big gap to our leaders, but not quite down a lap yet. He comes in at 1:52 behind Warner and 30 seconds behind Kovac, so is going to give us the best chance at a comeback. So we'll see how Marlowe does for his first few laps out with that repaired Porsche. See what we can do. Closest fight now on track is going to be seeing what Malad can do after his spin earlier to catch up with Hoover in the number 2 Ford Mustang.
It's that period of race now as we're coming up. Well, as we're pretty much in the English is hard sometimes. As we're coming into that period of, you know, the pit stops coming up, you're just going to be seeing just after that where where everyone shuffles into, where they all come out, all of that. I mean, for Milad, he's clearly shown that car is still drivable with the little meeting he had with Barrier earlier on. So really, I think it is for the best that he, you know, runs it all the way to his planned pit stop, because really, if you can drive it, you might as well lose that little bit of time versus having to change your pit stop strategy, this one and then possibly the next one, depending as well. I'm not sure, Jack, you might know what the endurance of these cars are. Time between pit stops, I think you said earlier it was between, what, 45 and 55 minutes thereabouts?
Yeah, the some people might go for 45, but that is going to lead you up to a third pit stop. The goal for this would be a one main pit stop around the 55 to 1 hour mark if you can extend it, and a second pit stop just before the 2 hour mark. If you can make that work, you can get a splash and dash, which will pretty much put you to the end of the race at the same time as a tyre change. So you can get some really good efficiency out of that, but it's going to depend on the drivers themselves. Joshua Andrews just entered the pit for, I believe, the first main pit stop of the race. So those supercars chugging a little bit more juice than the other series. And a 51-second pit lane time, or pits time for Andrews. We'll see how fast. Total pit lane time 127. We'll see how that compares to our GT3s when we start getting their pit stops.
I'm just looking about on the on the timing. It's sixth up in GT3 that's still to make a pit stop, and Michael Benke as well still to make a stop. So I'm sure we'll start seeing Roach upwards for GT3 and Benke into the pits soon, because we're 51-ish minutes in. So really the cars must be coming now to the end of their first cycle through, and we'll see if any of the two driver outfits decide to make a change now or if they go on a bit more. Because with a 2.4, if you're in a two driver outfit, it's relatively, it's not a simple thing to match up your pit time, like your pit in lap, with your change time as well.
Quite an important part to get right as well. You need to make sure that both drivers are ready. Jump out, jump in. Let me begin to say that we are approaching what I would say is about the start of our pit window for a lot of these drivers. Now, yet 6 up haven't pitted, you're correct. Kovac and Marlowe only pitting due to their respective incidents. So they're going to be desynced through the rest of it. So they'll probably only have one more pit stop as well. But when they take it, it's going to be probably before the other drivers. So they can have a little bit more wear on the tyres. A little bit more heat in the car. So could be good. Let's have a look at the lap times up and down from Milad. He is getting a good amount of time. Hoover is pulling away from the two behind him though, putting in some good lap times. Kovac's down there just rattling off mid 206s, keeping essentially the same lap times as Matt Warner the entire way around.
Yeah, and I think the bit as well for Kovac he's going to, I think, benefit from is once the drivers ahead of him box in as well, I think he might make up a good couple of positions there and also cut the time down that he had lost out between himself and at the time Marlowe as well through that incident he had earlier. So yeah, they're both out of sync, and once this round of stops has come through and finished, we should hopefully have as much of a representative picture as we will get for the moment of on-track position, on the road position.
Looks like there's been a drive-through penalty given to the 74 car of Andrews. Potentially speeding in the pit lane. Happened almost immediately after his pit stop. Can't see a reason given, but he definitely did just drive through the pits without stopping on the last lap.
So yeah, that's definitely not going to be something that he would have wanted to see, I will say.
For sure. Looks like there's been another off track for Van der Weel. Let's have a quick look at that. Looks like the chase, a little bit of oversteer, but does he keep it out of the wall? Into a gravel trap. But it looks like he is good out of the way. As we get back on Milad, coming up to Skyline, we had that fateful crash. Has kept it going though. We should see something good coming. Now, the only thing I'm suspecting is maybe the drivers have done an absolute worldie of an effort with their fuel saving. Could mean we see some later pit stops.
I believe so. I mean, I think theoretically, you will obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but possibly a one stop might be doable.
It would be, I think, just out of possibility. The 2.4 format is pretty much timed. I know it's kind of because it's 10% over 24 hours, but a lot of the time it kind of forces a two-stop at the bare minimum. Now, it can be done, but very rarely. Normally, you have to have some kind of caution, which we will not have full course cautions during this race. So, we'll need to put in an effort and then some to make a one-stopper work. We've had a crash from Van der Weel has come through, and we'll have a look at that now. On T1, gets a little bit of curb. I don't know why it's... There we go. Oh, Skyline dips in a little bit. Doesn't get too much. Too much.
There it goes. Same place as Kovacs.
Made the same
had his incident earlier.
Seems to be a popular place to go.
So just touching back on the pit stops then. If you are going to go with a 2, how are you going to want to do it? Because you're not going to need 2 full service pit stops, are you? So do you go for your full one first and then a quick second, you know, as quick in-out as you can get, or quick in-out and then a longer one? You know, those are the 2 strategies that could exist, and it will, I think, hazard to depend. Like, that might be what is going through a driver's mind. I'm sure they've all thought about it.
Pit stops. Van der Hoogd has entered the pits for his first scheduled, I hope, pit stop. I can't see any notice of a incident for him, so it looks like it's going to be in he comes.
So the first of our top 6 to blink then.
Yeah, also the only Ferrari left running in the top, but we'll see who gets past him. So Albin Boss has made it past. We'll see where Hoove is as well.
Hoove will groove his way past in that, and I think Milad will as well.
Milad as well. And Roach is now coming around the last corner as well. The big question is, can Govic get there? We'll get a notification when Hoove drops. I think Kovac is going to get him. What about Marlowe? Marlowe half a minute back from Kovac. Where is this pit stop going to put? The number 14 has dropped. So he's on tarmac now, still on the pit speed limit. And he's left the pit lane. That is 1 minute 17 seconds. Just under 1 minute 18 seconds for Hooves, who has gone from P2 to P7. So that is a large gap for the Benelux
but as
driver.
well, the then top 6, so Roach upwards at this point now, they're still to make their stop as well, so it will move about. So we'll see for who, if that makes, if the attempted undercut has worked well, or if it will just sort of equal out.
Yeah, we'll
Definitely going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, we will keep an eye on Hooves for the time being. The big question's going to be, can Kovac get within that 1 minute 15 seconds of Warner? He's currently 1 minute and 23. Owen Boss has gone off the track. Let's see what's happened here. Coming into the chase. Just locks up, goes straight on into the gravel. It could be the tyres starting to go for him. Could see him come in sooner rather than later. But he hasn't come in straight away.
We've just had deep cuts in the chat as well. I won in class the last time Husky commentated Bathurst. Let's go 2 for 2.
I believe he is the second driver in the number 7 supercar entry that is currently 1 minute and 51 seconds up on their class partner.
It must be something about me. I'm clearly the good luck charm here. That is what I'm putting it down to.
Oh, for sure. Let's have a look. See if we can see some action. There's an interval I want to have a look at with Wiegers running down Hoover. Now, Blad has a bit of damage that will need to get repaired. Probably has to put a new front clip on. He doesn't look like it's affecting his aero, but it's something that's just best for the longevity of the car, because a second tap might do some damage. Speaking of some damage, Marlowe off the track but no impact. Let's see what happened. Goes around number 13, lapping Van der Weel off the track. This is a man who is on a mission and does not want to be stopped by a slower car.
I mean, technically the gap existed and he went for it. I mean, you saw on the replay, his left-hand front was still on the white line, so...
Also not sure what the off-track overtaking rules are for lapping a car. Technically, it's full position. Technically, you're off the track. But should the number 13 got out of the way, well, you know, we might see something come from that, but more than likely not, as Alwyn Boss, after going in, and Brad Hoover going off as well a little bit on the live, has gone into the pits. Are we going to see... And Hoover and Milad both diving into the pit lane, with Matt Warner still left out there. Let's have a look.
And looking at his times as well, a 206.69 last time around. So he is still putting in good laps, even at this late period.
Yep.
In the race.
So Roach is going to be one of the last two with Warner. Kovac still 1 minute 23 behind Warner. And Hoog only 9 seconds behind him. So it's looking like there's a good chance that Matt Warner will have the net lead once his pit stop is over. But we will give you the total pit times for Boss, Hoover and Wiegers when they leave for their first pits, so we can get a better idea of what to expect. As Matt Warner has entered the pit lane, the race is on for Kovac to get through the mountain section, take back the lead on track. Both of them will have one pit stop left to do, as you know, there's going to be about 15 minutes of time after both pits are done for our regular stoppers. We've got a 116 for Boss, a 117 for Wiegers, and a 119 for Hoove. we is getting Hoove on the exit of the pit lane, it looks like, but we're going to stay with Kovac as he races through the downhill section towards Bentley. He's going to have to get onto the gas early, as Michael Benke also comes in for his scheduled pit stop, which means we're probably going to see a driver swap for the number 7 Ford.
Yeah, I mean, my question now, is Roach going to follow suit as well and dive into the pit lane?
There's a good chance. Okay, Matt Werner has now dropped from his pit box.
And Roach has gone into the pits as well.
And has had a 1:19 stop. He's going to have to get back up to speed, but Roach has gone into Kovac now second again. Let's see where we put the gap. Yep. So, looks like it's going to take a couple of minutes for the system to recalculate the gap. But that is not what Kovac would have hoped. He's still 20 seconds behind Warner. Clean air in front of him. As Alex Roach stops at his pit. And Jos Davies has taken over the wheel of the 7 car. And is on his way. And we just had an overtake for P7. Oh,
this is
Milan.
This is Milan on Hoove, yeah.
Oh, just pure pace against the Mustang. He's able to get on the throttle earlier out of Bentley. Gives him all of the time he needs. But Milan has gone into the pits.
And this is...
Oh, has he had a drive-through penalty?
Possibility, because he'd already pitted before, hadn't he?
Yeah, Milan has entered the pit lane and has left the pit lane 34 seconds later. So he was slapped with a drive-through. Wonder if that was for speeding through the pits earlier, or potentially just, taking some liberties with the painted lines. We haven't seen much of him, but we'll get on board with Alex Roach in the number 10 Porsche. Has had a pretty good race so far, up 2 positions from where he started. Putting in some decent times.
Yeah, everyone now has made at least 1 stop. So really, this is the the on-the-road positions. I mean, Kovacs is out of sync now. I mean, an hour plus as well before the final few pitted in. So that's gone over our suspected, quote-unquote, endurance of the car figures. Yeah, it's always good to see, but it's I'm saying just trying to work out when the next ones will come about, because with what we've seen thus far, I don't think it'll be possible to go to the end. So it's possibly now going to be a case of 1 more, but it's going to be when will that fall for the drivers, and that is maybe about the hour 55, 2 hour 5 minute mark, in that sort of quote unquote 10-minute window is the best that my very quick, I would say back of napkin, but in reality it's quick phone notes maths is putting it. I haven't got a napkin to hand, so really the phone is the closest thing.
It would probably be between the 2:04 to 2:12 mark is going to be like the latest we should see any kind of pit stop action. there's also the chance, but we're going to have to keep an eye on Kovac, as well as, I believe it was Hooves that also had that early stop. Looking at the number 14 now.
Yeah, I mean, Kovacs as well. Look at that gap. How that's come down. Last time I looked, that was at like 20.9.
Yeah, it was.
And it's now at 17.8.
It was 21 coming out of the pits. So he's brought that gap down a large chunk.
As that lap from Marlow as well, a 206.2.
Yeah, that would be the lap of the race so far. 2.5 tenths quicker than Kovac's best time.
See, now this is, I think, now the section of the race where, there isn't a whole lot of happening in terms of battles. So for all the drivers that are about, it's a case of push, push, push. Try and close up to the cars behind. I mean, Kovacs is clearly driving with some form of rocket strapped somewhere, because that gap is coming down. And I know from all of the times I've spoken to him, anything that happens in those rare incidents like we saw earlier, that just gives him more fight to claw back, and he's clearly doing that. Wiegers as well, Milad, he's pushing quite hard. Hoove, his gap's coming down too. He is in the groove and he is on the move. I think we will be seeing some closing up happening, and maybe towards the ending period of this race, that battle for the win will most likely be back on. As Kovacs, that's the fastest time of the session as well. So he is definitely pushing that Lamborghini.
Yeah, pushing it to its limit. Let's see what comes from the rest of this. So, now approaching about the halfway mark of this race. What has been some of your highlights so far, Mr. Huski?
I mean, there has been a good few. I mean, the battle between Boz and Vegas, that was insane, and until the end of it. I mean, that was ebbing and flowing as much as you could. We've had ups, downs, here's and there's all the way through, which Bathurst always gives us every time I've ever commentated a race here.
Yeah, it feels like the our traditional February Bathurst endurance that we would run in ACC. The classic moments have kind of just kept with it, even into our shift over to iRacing for this event. It's just great to see. I think, I hate to say it, but some of the crashes have been pretty much exactly where we'd expect them. Kovac going around the skyline, that corner is so tricky. It shows that even a great driver like Martin Kovac can be susceptible to the dangers of Mount Panorama. It's one of the hardest tracks in the world for a reason.
As well, just touching back on that, Kovacs has taken about 3-4 tenths off of Warner in that last lap as well, 206.7 versus 206.39.
Yeah, and Marlow doing a 3-4 as well. Those three have been at each other's necks for the entire time.
So even though, like, the gaps are how they are, I would not at this point, as with any endurance race, feel confident putting my money on anyone, really, because we've already seen in this first half what happens and what can happen. And
Oh,
really,
for
we're
sure.
already halfway there. We've got to do it all again.
Yeah. I think the only thing I would say is probably someone in the top 6 or 7. I think anyone, like even Milad, to be honest, yeah, top 8 drivers. Everyone on that lead lap, outside of maybe Powell, who is quite a bit further back, has a really good shot of getting their pit stop right, not making any mistakes, and taking the win. Now, would I say that Kovac, Werner, and Hoog are probably favoured in the position they're in? I'd be a fool to say no, but they still could make mistakes. It does happen. We've seen it already.
Exactly. And we touched on this in the start as well. Any mistake at Bathurst compared to other tracks has much more potential, in my view, to be bigger. I think is the best word that I can put on that.
Yeah, the impacts are going to be felt much further as well. Like, it's a lot harder to get yourself out of a position as well. Once you catching the car, it's just so much harder to do around here, as we've touched on, like the proximity to the barriers that you face on every corner up and down the mountain is.
I'm questioning what has happened to Hoof, because that gap is dropping very, very quickly.
Let's have a look. I don't have any incidents for him. I think it might just be. Yeah, if you look at the most recent laps, they're pretty bang on. Let's watch this fight as it unfolds between Hoove and Alex Roach.
They've got them. They've got one of the Mustangs, the number 7 car ahead. As
Gonna
they
have
come
to
through
deal
there,
with some stuff from there.
and now down the Conrod. This is where that Mustang can really get its legs out. And look, yeah, it's just going. It's just going up the Conrod. Maybe Hoove can use this to his advantage as Roach is looking to the outside, but the Mustang comes back across. Porsche down the inside. And the Mustang goes deep, possibly to try and not influence this fight too much. But the Mustang looking all over the rear end of the Porsche. Now, the question will be, what kind of straight line speed have these two cars got against each other? As here we go, it looks like that gap at 0.25, and it is closing. But then again, the Mustang, look how quickly it has catched up to the rear, caught up, sorry, English, to the rear end of those two up the first straight. Now, the Porsche, we have seen they are very, very strong through the mountain section itself. Hoove, though, looking about, trying just to keep on to the back of Roach's car as through we go. 3/10 is now the gap as we head down towards Skyline. It's ebbing and flying around. The Mustang having to go off a little bit, keep it a little bit slower through the faster flowing corners. Now as we get into Skyline, this is where the Porsches have been very, very strong. And once again, they are very, very strong through this sector. I think maybe Hoove will just lose the draft range as they come out of Bentley down onto the Conrod straight. So I think Roach will likely be able to breathe a sigh of relief here, but 8/10, 8.5 tenths more or less is the gap. It does look like the Mustang catches through the two straight portions of the circuit because it is coming down. Going as they go into the cutting, I think maybe it is just that case that the Mustang has the legs down the straight, but doesn't quite have the agility of the Porsche. So we will have to keep an eye on that and to see. I'm just quickly having a look over to the chat. We've got the Milad fan club in the chat as well, egging him on. He's got 5.1 to catch to Hoove ahead. However, he is pretty safe behind at this point. So it will be a case of, for now at least, keeping an eye on this battle. The gap always seems to extend through the mountain section itself. It does seem to come back down the Conrod Straight. Again, half a second separating those two. It really does, though, ebb and flow through this sector. You're looking now 4/10 as they head down the Conrod. This is where that Mustang has been very, very strong within the two. And look how quickly that gap is coming down. I don't know if Hoover's going to have the distance to try and poke the nose in through the cutting. He isn't at this point. Puts it out a little bit to the middle of the circuit just to have a look, just to state his intention of I am here. But at least for now, it's not to be. Into the final corner we go. How much quicker that Mustang seems to be able to pick up the legs. And Milad as well, also bringing that gap down. It's now 3.5 seconds. He is within visible distance between the two for some of these corners, which will help egg him on even more. We'll see as we come through the mountain. We're at an hour and 22 seconds. An hour and 22 minutes, there we go, of running time in the hour and 20. I'm really struggling with my times today. In the 2 hour and 25 minute race, so we've got just over an hour left of running as well. Approximately one more pit stop for everybody to do. So we'll definitely be seeing some very, very interesting things unfolding. And as well, further up the field, Kovacs, last time I looked at that interval, it was at 16 seconds. Now it's at 10, looking like it's just about to start touching on 9s too, which that, I think, towards the final period of this race is going to be one of the battles to watch, really, because now 2/10 Hoove just poking the nose in again, making his intentions known. 4/10 now. If he can keep it close and happy through this corner down the straight, he will have the legs on that car, as he has proven, to possibly get alongside and move up into the mountain, where it will be a lot harder for the Porsche of Roach to make a move. And then if he can hold it down the Conrod into the cutting, he should then be able to move away, but Roach is going to hold the inside. Hoover letting him go, hoping maybe that he washes out a bit wide. Looks for the cutback, which he seems to get side by side. The hill we go, and Roach just staying ahead for now. But Hoover is definitely letting his intentions be known here. Through the top part we go into the run-up to Skyline. 5 tenths. Now we've seen if Hoove can keep it close to within 3 or 4 tenths through Forest Elbow, should be able to have the run down the Conrod straight as well. But here is the question. What is it going to be as they come through the corner? Go out a bit wider. Get yourself the traction down a little bit quicker. There we go. So we're at 0.66. Watch as we come down, because that gap does fall. That's a 10th gone. Gains about 2 tenths down the Conrod straight, more or less. And then it's, I think, all about trying to just close it up a tiny bit more through these next 2 corners. Now, down we go. 3.5 tenths. Roach already moving over to have that defense if he needs it. Comes back across. Decided this time around I don't need it. He's not side to side with me. There is that Ferrari as well. The Ferrari 11th, so that is, on the look of it, I think Remco van der Wiel. Well, might be Van der Berg. Actually, they're both in Ferraris. Can't quite see the number on the front of that car. Reality. Ferrari moves over, and this has helped Milad very, very well. Now he's within 1/10.5 of the Mustang. So now Hoove has to go on the defense. Milad moving over to the inside. It's going to be side to side as they come through. Will Hoove try out the inside once more? No, lets Milad through. So Milad will now be the next up in the queue to bring the battle to Roach. Is going to be very close. As again, the gap between P1 and P2 has now dropped down to 8 seconds. So that has taken 2 seconds out of it from when I last looked. See, in front on your camera, Milad is looking, he's getting close now, within 4 tenths of Roach. Very good. Are still with Hoove. now be able to stick onto the back of the number 22 Porsche. We get stuck with Roach for a good few laps here, so it's going to be the question as Kovacs as well has set the fastest lap of the race now at 206.007, so getting very close to the 25s. So we will have to have a look and a see. Just in the foreground, Milad. He's gone to the inside, and I think he's held it. He has indeed, as the camera cuts back round. So now Hoove is gonna be all over the back of the number 10 Porsche once again. That Milad moved himself up into 6th position. Again, let's look into the chat. Come on, guys, have a chat with me. I am looking in periodically. Say hello. Give me your assessments on the race and the battles that we've watched thus far. Let's get a conversation cracking here. As we are back into the position of Hoove bringing that gap down the straights of the circuit in the faster sections. Roach extending it out as we get taken through the tighter, twistier sections too. I mean, because it goes up and down and up again. Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Certainly been an interesting fight so far, with Milad getting a couple of positions in the last couple of laps. Good movement for him.
Indeed, I mean, I have just been absolutely encapsulated by how this battle now for P7 has gone thus far. Because Hoove, he's had a look. It has just been really just looks not going to work. Looks not going to work. Right on the rear bumper. All the way through.
Looks like it's been a good fight between them. And Kovacs really dropped that time down to Warner.
He has. I looked, at the pit stops, 21 seconds. Look back, 16. 10 and now 8.7, so he is definitely bringing that down, and it looks like from the lap times Warner is picking the speed up a little bit once again.
It's been some very interesting racing up and down the grid. Going to see where the last 50 minutes or so brings us to. So, a little 1 hour, 30-minute catch-up. We've got Warner, Kovac, Hoog, and Marlowe bringing in the top 4 slots, with Roach and Hoover Roach, Hoove fighting for P6 and P8. As Milad comes in for his second pit stop. So, pit strategy's paying off for most of the drivers and teams so far today. A little bit of some quick thinking need to be done for those that have had the incidents. Oh, apologies for that, folks at home. So, we are going to see more close racing, more action. As Millard still in the pits, see where he comes out after this. Remember, he has had a drive-through from the previous pit stop. So has the number 74 car in the Supercars class. So, still within 4/10. They have been essentially lockstep with each other for the entire time. Now, this is something we like to see because it gives us some good racing. Speaking of close racing, it just comes through that Matthew Marlowe has had an incident. He was racing really close with Hoogt. What happens? It's really close. Taps the rear and loses it. Right in front of the number 7. Milad Wiegers still in the pits. I hope he hasn't had to retire. We'll keep an eye on that for you, but he hasn't had a crash, hasn't had a massive off. Let's have a look. So here's entering the pits. I can't quite see. What's caused it? Well, we'll go back with Hoover and Roach for a little while, watching what's going on as the closest on track action. Hope nothing bad has happened to Mlad. We'll get an update for you as soon as we can on the status of the Dutch Dynamo. As Martin Kovac comes in for his second pit stop. He's going to give himself a relatively early stop. Should give him some good track position when it comes to get that when Warner comes in for his final stop. So Kovac's plan of action. Take the pit stop now, get fuel, and some nice clean rubber. put that rubber to good use. Get within about 1 minute 15 seconds of P1, so that when everyone else has to come into the pits, he is gifted the win. And if he can do that, then we will have a back-to-back for Martin Kovac in class. Mr. Andrews, 74, also into the pit lane. So that should be his second stop. Milad still in the pits. Hoping nothing major has hit him. Kovac has a 35-second and only a 1 minute 12 for Kovac. Stop in the pit lane. We'll have to see if that is caused by something that gives him a penalty. Hopefully not. I want to see this fight come down to the wire. Good TV show that is. As we wait for my illustrious co-host to return back from his departure after my couple, we'll give you a quick update on the rundown. We've got Matthew Werner kept in first for a while now. Now, the interval gap, let's jump on to watching what Martin Kovac is doing. He is 1 minute and 1 second. Oh, yeah, 1 minute and 1 second behind the number 9 car of Matt Warner. What that means is he's in striking distance. So, as long as Kovac does not have a major off, does not have any penalties applied to him, we are potentially going to see a pit stop strategy after that crash from Kovac come into play. Now, is this going to be entertaining? Yes, certainly. Is this going to be risky? Potentially, as there's always the option for just going a bit longer. For if Kovac has another off, that's pretty much his race gone. Don't really see a way for him to get back into it. But it's part of the fun of endurance racing. You never quite know what you're going to get, when you're going to get it. You have to roll with the punches. So, let's see what punches are thrown. As Van der Berg coming in, having not a great race for himself. He'll want to probably look back at some of the footage and make up some time in the simulator. Getting that good stuff going. Ready for our next race in a month's time. It's already getting to that point. So, enjoy iRacing series. But yeah, we're gonna this iRacing series that is, you know, the brainchild of some of the geniuses in the Racing Pals administration teams. Going to give us a great change up. Going to give us some new talent, some new blood in the community. If you want to be part of that pool of amazing drivers that are going to be driving multi-class and just insanely fun events hosted by Racing Pals, come join us at the Discord link in the description, or go to racing-pals.com/discord. Also go to patreon.com/racingpals to support us, so we can, you know, provide you high quality overlays such as the one we're using at the moment with SDK, prize pools for some of our single-seater seasons, as well as just, you know, showing what we're doing is enjoyable. What we're doing is worth the effort. We put in so much time to put on the show that we just hope that you enjoy at home. That you'll come and join us when time permits you to do so. So come have a look. There will be some announcements coming up regarding some future series, some one-off events, as well as you can have a look at the full Endure calendar. Come join us. We'll be heading to some of the biggest tracks in the world for endurance racing. including the fabled Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans, France. And to get you all in the mood for it, just a reminder that the greatest historical biopic ever made, Le Mans 66, also known as Ford versus Ferrari, is available to stream on Disney Plus. Give that a watch. Gives you a massive appreciation for the work put in, and an appreciation for the battle between Hoove and Roach, who I have missed that this was very close. They are within a 10th coming into the chase. And we're going to get to watch some magic happen. If you join the Discord as well, there is a link in the injured chat. So if you go grab the right things for that. Looks like Malad has finally come out of the pits. 10-minute stop. We'll have to ask him after what happened. Whether there was an emergency. Whether there was a malfunction in the car. See what was going on. But hopefully we can get an answer for that for you after the race. Updates will be posted. For everyone. Make sure to join the Discord to get the updates as soon as possible. Okay, and Brad Hoove makes the overtake through Skyline. Absolutely amazing maneuver.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, my man. It's back. You have missed an overtake on the Mr. Alex Roach from Bradley Hoover. I'll give you a little quick rundown of it and give you a replay so that you can get your reaction in.
Oh, look, I knew it was
As
oh!
Roach hits the wall coming into Skyline.
Oh, okay. That was not what I would have expected that to have come off, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. And Milad has had a 10-minute pit stop. So it is,
A 10-minute? What have they done? Bought him a new car?
I think they may have had to potentially replace, maybe they have to stint his arm. That impact might have hurt his wrist from earlier, but we've had Kovac's second pit stop. So, tail of the tape for yourself, Husky. Kovac is now within a minute gap of Matt Warner, who has to have his second pit stop. Matthew Marlowe now coming in for his second pit stop, as Alwyn Boss has had an incident. Into Skyline, he goes straight, hits the curb. What's happening here? Oh, and he's lost it into the downhill section. That's going to be a massive disappointment for Alwyn. Had an absolutely amazing race so far.
Now, we've seen incidents then, this race, but I think that is the first one at that specific point we've seen. Most of them seem to be as you come into it. That was as he was exiting it, wasn't it?
Yeah, it normally happens in either the downhill right-left or the right-hander just before Bentley. That was the left-hander coming out of the second part. Normally it's going into the chicane after Skyline. Very interesting hit.
Yeah, so that's a first, I think, for this race. It didn't look like though it was as big of a hit into the barrier. So, you know, silver linings and all that.
But quite a lot of rotation. So tyres from there, if the tyres weren't keeping themselves rotated, that's be quite dangerous.
Yeah. At least the one thing, it is coming up to the next round of stops. So if there's any quote unquote good time to do that, it's probably as you're coming up to your next stop.
Yeah, we've had Marlowe have his second stop, who we were expecting Hoog just pit first, but that's absolutely fine. Now, Benke has had his stop where he's come in for the last stint, and has come out behind Andrews. Oh, there's a car around. Joshua Powell has spun it. But that means our closest battle on track is now officially the battle for the supercar race.
Yeah.
So we'll get you some action on that. We're going to keep an eye on Kovacs for a little while longer. Hasn't been able to extend the gap.
See, I told you at the start, didn't I, that it was going to be the supercar race. You should have believed me, Jack. You should have believed me.
Always believed.
I'm trying so hard not to rustle this that much, but I am failing miserably at this. There we go. Right. The rustling has ceased. I apologize for everyone's ears that have just had to put up with that.
That actually, luckily, didn't come through. Sound compression from Discord doing its job.
Oh, well, that's good then.
It's a very rare time indeed when I can say that audio equipment is working for me. Seems a little bit of magic. Oh, what's happened? Michael Benke has gone into the pits again with a drive-through penalty. The supercar race was looking to liven up, but sadness, I believe, for the man, as Alex Roach also comes into the pits as well after spinning shortly ago. Now that is sad, as that was shaping up to be the excitement for us.
That is sad for us, and I think for Benke as well. But I think Hammers is going to be sat there in the car going, whew.
That's a sigh of relief that can be heard from across the county.
I think I've heard it up here, and I'm another county away, mate.
I think I'm even further away, and I can hear it. That might just be the fireworks, though. Let's have a look at our race leader, Matt Warner, putting in a masterclass in that number 9 Porsche.
Yeah, he's just not had any hiccups, really, has he, this race? He's just kept his head down, drove around in, you know, the weird-shaped circle, and it's clearly paying dividends for him at the moment. And, you know, an hour, sorry, not even an hour, half an hour just over left in today's race.
It'll be, yeah, 30
One
minutes
more stop to make.
stage. One more for a lot of drivers, yeah.
So, you know, really, all I think he must be thinking in the car is just keep doing what I'm doing. It's worked. It's still working.
Oh, looks like we had a slight off-track for Milad. Let's have a look. Coming around the last corner. Oh, brings it all the way over the white lines, but keeps the foot in, so he doesn't lose too much time.
As they say, you need to turn left to go right.
Oh, yes. Now, we are blessed with having it's been an incredible race for the size of the grid. I think is something that doesn't get a lot of lot of comments when you have a smaller grid. Sometimes the races can be a little bit few and far between on the action, but we have been pretty much jam-packed, and it's only going to be after the last couple of pit stops with Hughes and Warner that are going to drop in right around Marlowe and Kovacs respectively when they make their pits. So we're going to have a fight for first and a fight for third.
Yeah, and, you know, with everything that has happened in this race, the drivers have put on a very good show, I would say, for us this evening. You know, now half an hour left, one more pit stop for a couple of the drivers. This is definitely crunch time where you're going to want to make sure that you're running as close to perfect as you can be.
So having a look at some of the sector times for Warner. Has a really good sector 3 as he comes up to lap another Porsche, getting out of the way for him. And he's just looked very calm under pressure. Has Matt Warner. Not made any mistakes. There's the last pit stop for him is going to be key. Just as we've seen quite a few drive-through penalties, stewards are on that today, and the that pressure, that last little bit of pressure, to not have a massive incident and to keep yourself in time. Oh, and we've had a couple of incidents come through. We've had
just as you've said it.
Just as I've said it, yeah. Van der Weert coming through.
Oh.
Have a look on the up. Oh, he's been involved with some people that spun around. And on top of that, if we go back live, we can see that Vegas, afterwards,
he just got caught up in that as he committed.
Someone has spun on a blind corner and he has got involved.
Yeah, and that, I will say, is really, really good reactions there.
Yeah, that could
from Milan, because you would not have been able to see it until you were on it, and he's just gone through, seen what's happened, and made that split decision to just jump on the brake, get the car stopped, give yourself that extra tiny bit of time to quickly in the back of your head go, right, here is the plan, and execute it, instead of just barreling through and possibly making it worse. Like, in a sense, what ended the 12 Hours of Bathurst a few years ago, if you remember that.
Yes, massive incident, very bit controversial. Luckily, I think for Milad, the point of where Van der Wiel was stopped was just as you normally lift off the brakes to let it roll in before the throttle. So he wouldn't have been on the throttle, and he would have just been able to get back on the brakes and not locked up. So he's a little bit lucky, and a lot of skill it takes to not have an incident on this track and in this last 25 minutes. That could have been he already has had not a great race, but that could have been a major race ender.
Could have been, but it's just that it's the skill and the reaction time that saved him from what could have been.
So as they get through their stops, have a look at the best time. Marlowe comes in with the fastest lap so far, and Marlowe and Kovacs being the only drivers to drop below into the 205s. So very, very quick times. Should have been something normally served for it. As we talk about it, Hooged, timing perfectionist, has come into the pits just as we want to have a chat about what's going to happen. We will have a look at that. So, see a little shuffle on, and we are looking at Hug, who we're looking at his gap between himself and Matthew Marlowe. So, Marlowe is sitting about, let's have a He's got about a 50-second gap, but he's now coming into the chase with Hook still stationary. He's only a little bit back, 600 meters.
Get in there. I think he's going to get it.
Hook has dropped, so he is in motion, and he is relatively close to the front. He's left the pit lane. So, gap will recalculate on your screens as soon as it's available to. He is just up the other end of this road, so there's actually a decent 10-second gap. Hoog's pit stop, this is going to be important, was 59 seconds from entrance to exit. That is the time that he was in the pits. That is not the time he lost. So, we are looking at Martin Kovac being 58 seconds behind. He needs to get into probably the 53s, 54s to really have a chance at winning this race. And he needs... Oh,
and can I just point your attention to that last lap for Warner? 2:05.5.
He is on the dregs of fuel and has turned his Porsche into a rocket ship. The German Space Agency will be calling him shortly.
So you can definitely tell that car is the lightest it's probably gonna be. And that, you know, Matt Warner is pushing as hard as he can to just try and solidify that stop. You know, to give himself the best chance in what will be the last 22, 23 odd minutes of the race, which doesn't sound like a long time, but we saw earlier how quickly gaps can just disappear, especially after pit stops as well. So it will for sure be, I think, very, very tight by the time we come to the checkered flag.
Oh, it's going to be tight, and it's going to be just ever so interesting to see how much time Kovac can gain in the pit stop. He'll be kicking himself if he can't get close enough to, you know, think he had a fighting chance even with the crash, but he's played into Warner's hands. We're going to see a pit stop now with 25 minutes? No.
No, he's staying out.
He's staying out.
What is that lap time gonna be? If it was a 2:05.5 last time around, what are we gonna see now from him? A 2:06.0.
He's got to be on the last of the fuel.
He is going absolute hammer and tong on that Porsche at the minute.
So let's have a look at their last pit laps. So as you can see, he pitted on lap 30. Hoove pitted on lap 29. So those two still got their second pit stops to go.
Kovac's on 46 as well. So his tyres are already 12 laps old.
Yeah.
Thereabouts.
He's going to be quite old on those tyres. They are. But again, he's got much younger tyres than Warner. So we can expect Warner to be pitting probably in the next couple of laps because of just the lineup for his tyres.
Yeah,
he was
even
one of the last
that gap
pits
at the minute.
Well.
That gap at the minute, 59.6. It's gonna be tight, I think, in the pit time. I don't know if with this gap Kovacs will be able to make the move, but I think possibly by the time that Warner's come out the pit lane, Kovacs will be there.
I think there is a good chance, though, that Matt Warner is going to go for a fuel-only pit stop. That will shave off about 10 seconds for what he should, what you'd expect to do with the full tyre change if he only needs 6 laps, 7 laps of fuel if he can go another couple of laps before pitting. His tyres look absolutely great for him. He's putting in, like, quality laps, paces at the end of this race with the low fuel count. We'll have a look what he puts in now.
he's out for another lap as well. So there's clearly enough fuel in there. I'm sure
That was a
2057.
5.75. That is the second fastest lap of this race. I don't think he needs the tyres. I think he's going to do maybe one more lap after this, come in for 5 laps of fuel, have a 20-second, like a 10-second pit top time, shave that 10 seconds off, and he's not going to have to worry about Kovac. The only thing that I believe could end Matt Warner's race today would be a try-fruit penalty for speeding in the pits.
Yeah, that's probably it. Because, I mean, look, as he's been going around the track, he's not been extending limits anywhere, really, has he?
No, he's, I don't know if he's got any... We can have a quick look at the points of it. Have a quick look. What are we on? Can't see any incidents for him that would be something being watched by the system. Have a look how many off tracks he's had. So he is on. He's got. Wrong little thing. Let's have a look. Yeah, so a lot of off tracks for some of our lower drivers. 0 off tracks for Matthew Warner. He has been driving for 2 hours and 5 minutes and has not left the track a single time.
No, and a massive point out there for Hoot with only 1, Hoove, Andrews and Benke both with 2.
That's incredible. Even Kovac with 5. Keeping it under 10 with this length of race. He's not even coming into the pits.
No,
that's a 206.03.
He's still going.
I was kind of being hyperbolic with the German Space Agency, but that's insane. I can't believe it. Matthew Marlowe's also put in a sub 206 now as well, with a 205.87 being his fastest. Trying to catch Hood. He's got 5 seconds to make up in 25 minutes. But maybe he had disbelief on the 5.57, but he's put in a 5.5 or 5.75. He's put in a 5.7 now. Top speed wise, what we're looking at, yeah, he's still only doing 266. Hooged in the Ferrari, getting much better top speed than Matt Warner, but just make no mistakes. Don't allow it, and you are good. Yeah, and also Kovac now a full minute and 1 second behind. Kovac has been slower by a second on the last couple of laps.
Yeah, so I think now really, even if Warner decides to take a full service start, I think he's safe.
I think he is. I think that the time loss is only around the 45, 50 second mark. We say 50 to 55 on the gap because, you know, you can make mistakes. You have to overslow sometimes. A perfect pit stop should be in the 50-second range. And I don't know if Warner's going to make a mistake on the pit stop. We'll see if he comes around now.
Have a look. And Marlowe as well. Another sub 206. 205.8. Is Warner finally coming in?
Coming in. Let's keep an eye on his speed. It looks good. Oh! Having to lock the brakes up. He's sparking on the rear end doing that as well. So that means those tyres have definitely been worn down. Let's see.
Possibly. I don't think the scrap value of rubber on them is going to be very high now. I think most of it is on the circuit itself at this point.
Yeah, and he's right at the front of it. So we will put our camera on Kovac coming down the back straight. He's got the toe. Have a look. Matt Warner still up on bricks. Matt Warner has dropped a 21-second stop time, so he's taken a full service. He is on fresh rubber. He's out the pit lane in 57 seconds.
And now all he has to do, the entire goal now, is just drive the final 16 minutes until the end.
Now, 20 seconds for Kovac behind, which does mean drive-through will take it. So, we will keep an eye on it. If Matt Warner comes into the pits at any point, Kovac will be your champion due to speeding in the pit lanes. If he doesn't, I don't think outside of a crash, which with not even having an off-track, I don't think he's going to hit anything. This Bathurst race has been almost, I dare say, a perfect run from Warner. No incidents.
When you said that, Jack, I was really sad that I wasn't going to use my soundboard because I think you could tell the sound I would have gone for there.
Oh, I'm not actually sure. Do you want to run it back and see what the people think about your choice of soundboard?
Well, if I still had it, I would have strolled you.
Oh no, it's Stroll.
That would have been that would have been perfect, I do think.
And speaking of perfect, a race for Matt Warner that he is going to be proud of. 15 minutes left, so that's going to be 7 laps or so. It depends on when that minute timer falls. Doesn't look like he's heading in. So, oh, and Martin Kovac, you see that interval climbing. The reason for it, this man has gone on Skyline, has tapped the inside just a little bit, has a wiggle, and has spun it into milds.
Oh, and into the barrier as well.
And he is going to take a second to turn that. That also kind of clears Warner for a drive-through as well. The gap is 42 seconds.
Does, and do you know what that tells me?
He's frustrated. The emotions.
It tells me there's the frustration there and just how hard he must have been pushing that car as well.
Yeah, it was close. He's now come into the pit lane. I assume there's a ton of damage on that Lamborghini now from smacking the rear end in. As we watch one of the last runs as we start to lose the light here. Headlights coming on. Can always be a interesting situation. We're going to hope just not dangerous.
Ooh. Did you see that slight wiggle, though, off at the back of Warner's car? Just as he touched the curb, there's a little bit of just a side to side. I think, and the reason I bring it up, I think that is probably the closest moment we have actually seen for Warner all the way through the previous 2 and a bit hours.
It has been one incredible race. We could have made a prediction for how we'd think this race would have gone. And I don't think we would have got probably a single position in that prediction correct. Joshua Powell has had another off. We'll have a look how that goes. Give him a little left fronter in the mountain section. Coming up to that. Wonderful. And a little bit oversteer. Oh!
Bonk, bonk. Yeah.
Into the escape
lights
road. Lights are out for him. He's back in the pits for what might be the 5th time today.
I wonder, I might have to look that up if that is actually an escape road or if that is actually someone's driveway.
A little bit of column A, a little column B. I think if you build a road into Mount Panorama, it becomes an escape road by, like, zoning laws.
I mean, Mount Panorama is a road. It's a public road.
Yeah, and it's got houses on it, which I have seen.
Yes.
Have you seen the Airbnb prices for these houses?
I bet they're insane.
I think one of them, someone will have to fact check exactly how much it was, but for the nights over the 1,000, or for that night, it was almost 6 figures Australian.
It's about £2.50.
Sorry, no, almost 5 figures. Sorry, it was like 8. So which they put it up for 8,000 or something similar.
Only about £4.95 then.
Yeah, not too shabby.
Not too shabby. Yeah, because I'll always remember. This is a callback, Jack, to the last Bathurst race I commentated. Do you remember what I said?
I don't remember.
Basically, I ran through the story in the intro of, guy wanted to build a racetrack, got told no. He asked to build a public road instead, got told yes. Someone has been sacked.
Yep. That is normally how it's going to work for you if you don't give as good as you get.
Just pops up on the desk. Well, we said no to his racetrack, but now he wants to build a public road. Yeah, seems legit.
No problem with that one there, my dear mucker.
We probably just sat there just like, please stop putting in planning applications. We'll accept one. And I'm just looking at something. What is that gap between second and third?
That is not a gap at all. Looks like we're going to see a race to the finish between Marlow and Hoogt.
Here we go. Have a look. It's Ferrari v Porsche as well. So the Porsches we know, very strong through the mountain section and through the twisty bits. But then, look how much Marlow has closed that gap up. Is there. Where is he going to make his presence known, though? That is the question. Or 10. So this section of circuit, isn't it, that the Porsches are strong in? And yeah, look how quickly that gap has compressed just through these corners, and there's still so much more to go. Skyline, I think, is going to be where you'll see that gap just go.
It's going to shift, isn't it? Marlow's going to have to put on the brave face and not really lift at all to get as much as he can. He gains a little, loses a little. Gains massively on the dip. If he makes a good Bentley, I think he's going to get... Oh, there's a little wiggle from Hoogs into the wall, but position that Marlow can't really capitalise.
He's just trying to get the traction out the corner, get that power down early. Now the gap is coming down. But will the cars reach their equilibrium together or not? It doesn't look like it.
So much faster with the toe. But he's going to have to keep with him one more lap, I think. That little wall bang where it looked like Marlow had to lift a little. Oh, but he's kept with him through the chase. Something we haven't seen many drivers been able to do. Is he going to make a move on the last corner? He's going around the...
He's going wide. Tight. Not fully over, though.
Wide. He's going to bump him.
A bit loose there for Hoot as he went over. Did you see the rear of the car just start to step out a bit before he got the little tap?
Yeah, it's a little slidey, little wily.
Now, down straight, we know the Porsche's strong here, but not quite there enough to make it happen. now into this section. Again, we've seen how quick Marlowe has been over the past couple of laps through the dip. If he can stay close enough to the back of who, he doesn't want to be right up the bumper though, because then he'll have to overslow
like he had
to not cause an incident.
Previously, like he's doing now. You can't really follow that closely in that part of the track because your front end just doesn't get the aero in it, so your diffuser loses a lot of potential.
Yeah, and it's not just that. Look how quickly that gap comes down. If he was right on the bumper, he would have had to slow even more. And again, look. So in reality, him dropping back has helped him out here.
But it doesn't look like it's affected. It wasn't a big enough hit to slow Marlowe down. But he's in about the same position as he was the last time, with less of an overspeed on the exit. He gets him right behind. We know he's comfortable following through the chase.
He's indeed on the brakes, just trying to get as much out of it as he can. Which way is he going to go? Is he going to stay mid or is he going to go in?
He goes out to the outside.
He's going
now.
to the outside, yeah.
Realizes that it was better line.
I think as well, trusting a little bit that Marlowe wasn't going to just shove the nose down the inside there.
Yeah, it's so late in the race that you have to have a little bit of... Oh, and not the greatest of corner from Hooged. Marlowe just has so much more overspeed, but the Ferrari has a massive displacement. Andrew seems to have crashed as well, which might hand the supercars to Benke, but we're going to stay with these two.
He's still held it though. Keeps Marlowe round the outside.
Puts the car in the right position, gains a few temps. But like we said previously, the Porsche kind of designed for this kind of racing. The newer Ferraris have a bit more focus on displacement, but still incredibly nimble.
It is indeed, as the Casio watch that's sitting behind me has decided to tell me it's 10 o'clock.
It's a good reminder that we've only got 3 laps left at most.
At most. Now, this is the furthest we've seen the gap through Skyline.
Now, quickly going to pop through to see that Andrews and Benke are bumper to bumper. So we'll try and keep you up to date with this fight as well as it occurs. Andrews might have a little bit of damage, but, you know, it hasn't really lost that much, but it's going to be close.
They've got a couple GT3s behind as well.
Yeah, we don't want them to interrupt. So those GT3s is that actually Marlowe and Hoog, so they're all going to be in the same bit of the track as it comes to the end of the race as well.
I can see Roach in there as well. He's there too.
Yeah.
This, we've got what? 1 or 2 to go. 1 to 3? About that?
I think we're going to have 2 laps, including this one. Or maybe another one. It depends on when Warner crosses the line.
Exactly, and the thing is, he has enough time to spare that if he gets to the line with, you know, enough time to notice, he could slow up enough just to avoid doing that final lap. We go. That gap in the supercars has extended once again. That'll be Andrews giving a little tiny bit of breathing room once more, and now who is up to the Porsche GT3? Little bit of grass. If anything, I think Marlowe got the better run past that Porsche as they head into Skyline. Now we are with, on the same shot, the battle for second in GT3 and the race win in the supercars. Andrew's very loose outside of Bentley. I think he's lost it out to Benke. He has. And now down the Conrod, Marlowe gonna try and get as much draft off of that supercar as he possibly can. It'll be wheel to wheel, as you can just see the extra power that the Mustang supercars have in comparison, and then just the extra bit into the cornering that the GT3s have. Andrews giving the flash of anger. I think he might have got a little bit of
bit cut up,
side-to-side contact.
Yeah, that's gonna get. Oh, and he's off.
Oh, was there assistance by the Porsche, or has it just gone?
Let's have a look quickly. Oh, but down the inside.
We can't at the minute.
We will be able to up here quickly. No, it just loses it under braking, it looks like.
Wow. Andrews had that little tap of the barrier, and then it's just fallen away from him there. As we've hit the 2-hour, 25-minute mark.
And we are now looking at Matthew Warner on his final descent down to Chase. What an incredible race from Matt Warner.
Yeah,
Comes in, puts in incredible laps for his qualifying, and just puts in back-to-back fastest laps. Congratulations to him as he comes around the final corner. Hoogs and Marlowe's gap opens up a little bit, so maybe a little bit of involvement from the supercars that they were with. But
I mean, for sure, what a drive though from Warner.
Incredible.
He's just had a completely clean race all the way through. And obviously that has paid absolute dividends for him today. I don't know if he's still on the 0x. I'm going to hazard to guess that he is indeed.
Let's have a quick check. Yep.
Yeah.
Not a single off track. He might have had some X's from contacts, but no off tracks at all.
Yeah, no off tracks. So it has been probably the closest thing to perfect that he could have got.
Outside of starting second. He nearly got the Grand Slam, but Kovac's able to put up that pole position time that we knew he would. Not being able to keep it out the walls, which is kind of key to be able to do.
Yeah, it's kind of helpful if you can keep yourself from ploughing the cars into the barriers.
But have a look at the results from practice. Just a little back line and our qualifying results. You can see that he was Warcry Racing. Number 9 was absolutely stunning from start to finish. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for what was our second Endure event.
There, it has definitely been one of the races of all time, I think I can say.
Yeah, for your first time commentating on one of these, how did you feel about it, Husky? How did it go? How was your opinion on this format that we've got going?
It's given us a good race.
Oh yeah.
That's really all I can say, because that's what matters in the seat that I'm in.
Yeah, we can have a look at our final results for the race. Warcry Racing winning. Gus van der Holt coming in second. Marlowe, Alwyn, Team Alex Roach, Yukon Racing coming in 5th ahead of him. And then our 2 supercar entries. Being able to only 2 cars finishing on the lead lap, but that was one hell of a race. So thank you very much for joining us for Bathurst. Our next event will be on the 15th of March, where we will be heading to one of the trickiest endurance tracks there is, and going to Sebring International Speedway. Come join us if you can make it as a driver. The categories will be announced closer to the date, so join the Discord in the links below. Keep an eye on our Endure channel for the information. And we will see you in Sebring. I have been Jack.
And I've been Husky.
And at least one of us will see you next time. Take care.